Okay, welcome to the bus tour sponsored by the Town Meeting Coordinating Committee, and we're going to be getting started in just a moment. Just wanted to orient you a little bit. The tour is from 2 to 4. We're going to go to numerous different sites around town. There are a couple sites towards the end of the town that we may let you go visit on your own because we want to try to get you back here as close to 2 as we can. I'm sorry, to 4, thank you. And let's see, we have an evaluation form that we'd love for you to fill out at the end. And we have numerous speakers on board who will be speaking to us. And we'll take questions after people speak at each stop. So we're going to get started. Okay.
Hi, this is stop 1. This is the Hawthorne property. This is a CPA project that came to us as a possible combination of recreation and affordable housing. The recreation part could be either another playing field or it could be a mixed-use kind of thing. Some of us on the CPA committee would like to see garden plots as well as different kinds of courts and things for multi-generational use. But the staff in town had hoped that this would be another field. The plan for this was that it's a good location for recreation because no new parking would need to be created because the Wildwood parking lot in this child care center parking lot could be used. The house is possibly an affordable housing use, or it might be demolished. We don't know yet. And there's still some questions about combining two different purposes. So those legalities are going to be worked out. But this is an excellent opportunity to buy this land. And so the CPA committee enthusiastically, I forget exactly what the vote was. I think it might have been 6-2, recommended this. And some people were very strong in recommending that it be not another playing field, but that it still be recreation. So that's going to have to get settled at town meeting, whatever the use is, or maybe even after town meeting. But at any rate, we didn't want to let this piece of property go. The house would be included in the purchase price for $500,000, and it's approximately, I think, 6 acres, something like that, and that's actually a good deal. This is likely to be developed into, I think, 3 or 4 housing lots. There are some wetlands on the property that will stay wetlands that I don't think we're getting a conservation restriction on it, but there would be a recreation restriction such that this property could never be used for any other purposes other than recreation. And if the house is used for affordable housing, there would be a housing restriction on that so that it would be countable affordable housing in perpetuity. Any questions? So there'd be no additional housing built. We're not 100% sure because the idea came forward at our meeting Thursday night that maybe this could be offered to Habitat for Humanity as a possible way, and we're not sure whether it's worth it to try to rehab the old house or whether it's better to build new or whether we can even combine the housing with the recreation. That's something that the lawyers are working out right now as we speak. Well, maybe not today, but soon. Jim? Whenever you purchase something with CPA funds, you have to have some kind of restriction, whether it be a historic preservation restriction or whether it be conservation or agricultural protection or anything like that. There comes strings attached. Okay, I think Janet, is it Janet? Yeah.
Sure, one more question, and just for the purposes of ACTV and those of you who are looking out of the bus, the land is up and over this hill. So the view that you just saw on the street was the open view, but this shows the proximity to the school. And what was your last question, Janet?
On the restriction, it has to be a recreation restriction exclusively. It can't be obviously I just got here. So
The question is, does it have to be a recreation restriction or can it be some other type of restriction?
The combination is what we were unsure of. We thought that it would be fine that way a couple of weeks ago, and then apparently someone raised a legal question about it, and so we need to have that addressed first. The other thing I wanted to say is if it is turned into some kind of playing field, there would have to be some kind of leveling of the land to make a level field, and that is something that the town staff were very much in favor of. They also felt that because of the proximity to Wildwood School and to the middle school, the kids could just walk there if there were after-school activities scheduled there.
Okay. All right. Hello, everyone. We are now at stop number 2 pertaining to Article 18. Now, the land that I'm trying to show you is actually not visible from Olympia Drive or from the street we're on, which is Village Park Apartments Street. But I believe that there's a dirt road here, and I think that this dirt road leads to the land. But let me tell you what I learned from the warrant review about this. This is an article that is aimed at creating affordable housing. And originally, the land that is at issue here was acquired through eminent domain in the late 1980s. 15 acres of the site was to be used for affordable housing. There was 27-acre parcel total. And there was a study that was authorized back in 2004 for $50,000 from the Community Preservation Act Committee to determine whether it was feasible to build housing units. And what the study determined was that a neighborhood community of 38 units would be possible. There's been later issues that came up was there was no frontage for this property. And so the way to have a development go forward here is to go through Chapter 40B of the Mass General Laws, allows suspension of town bylaws, but still requires ZBA approval. And Kuhn Riddle was involved with assessing the property for development and said that 42 units would make this a feasible property to develop. All the units would be part of the subsidized 40B inventory, so they would all be counted towards the 10% needed for affordable housing to ward off a hostile 40B project, which if you have questions about, we can talk more about. But the construction of a development here would be supported by state and federal funds. And let's see. I probably am not going to be able to answer a lot of questions about this because it's a housing partnership. The Fair Housing Committee authorized this and is putting it on the warrant, and I don't know a whole lot more other than what I learned at the warrant review. However, I did I happened to be hiking out here last week and saw what I think might be the clearing for this development, and I'll pass this along. I took a picture. Looks like they've already made quite a clearing. A number of trees are down, so I'll pass this around too. And for ACTV purposes, here's what that looks like. Yes. So the question is, how would people access this? And if there's someone who knows a little bit more about the housing partnership project that's proposed, I'm happy to defer to you. I think that part of the requirement that would for frontage would perhaps be avoided by going through this 40B part of the statute. Oh, there's Mary might know the answer. The question is, would they come in this way?
The problem is that the university owns Olympia Drive. So that that's what Larry said. Yes, yeah. So I think that this, I don't understand this article really, but somehow this article is to help.
So at the base of Olympia Drive, there is a conservation area that is part of this same conservation area that we're looking at here. The only road access I could see was this dirt road here, which I'm assuming is how they've gotten the trees in and out, because there are a number of trees that have been already taken out. But it sounds like the road access would actually be on Olympia Drive. So we'll save other questions for those who are proposing this article, and we'll go on to the next stop. Thanks. We're now at the fire station, obviously, stop number 3 on our tour, and we're very happy to have Chief Nelson with us. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Chief Nelson. He spent 28 years with the Holyoke Fire Department as a firefighter, lieutenant, captain, and deputy chief. He was also a fire inspector for 5 years and served as a team leader of the Massachusetts Regional Hazardous Materials Response Team. He came to the area as a teen when his father was stationed at Westover, and he lives in South Hadley with his wife Gina and a graduate student daughter Jessica. And I'll ask Chelsea, why don't you help? Okay, what's being passed around now are the infrared cameras.
Thermal imaging cameras.
Thermal imaging cameras. And I'm going to pass it over to the chief to tell us about the different things that we're proposing funding for town meeting.
Okay. Well, welcome aboard. As you see, as I said, we're passed around our thermal images. As I said, we use those to find hidden we use what's that? Pardon me? Oh, sorry. Yes, yes, ma'am. We use those to find hidden fire behind walls. We can use that to, I guess you could say, see through smoke. All right, because it picks up the differential in heat. Those are probably 10 to 15 years old. All right, and what we're looking for is same type, better technology, but they're smaller, more portable. Those, as you can see, are kind of bulky. Those are probably second generation. Another thing, we have, I don't know if you can see us. It's behind the truck. We have a what I like to call our hybrid ambulance. We had two that were involved in accidents, and took the rear from one, the front from the other, and made one. You know, it's alive. You know, but the point is that this is our oldest one. It's probably got 2001, 2002 vintage. It's got 139,000 miles on it. It's pretty worn. And
that doesn't count what you're sitting there and it's running for.
There you go.
30 hours
That's the thing.
playing
You know,
fire.
your run time. It all adds up. And as you know, we're a very busy department, the EMS wise. So that's our second thing. Actually, getting a new ambulance means we're going to be that much more effective with patient care.
Well, you still keep with this one that you have.
What
Replace the backup?
No, we'll trade that one in for no. We still have we have five total. Okay, so that'll be a good trade. Other thing we're looking at right there. You see that's our fueling system. That's probably 15 to 20 years old. The thing is, it runs on a computer system, but it's a DOS system, so we know. Yeah, there you go. So, yeah, that's all. What we want to do is take that out, put in a new system that's built on it can run on the city network. And we can get rid of this. There's an old DOS computer in there. What that allows us to do, what the new system will allow us to do, is keep track of our fuel usage, and we can run some miles per gallon numbers too. So and plus this here, you can't get parts for now. That's how old it is. It still runs fine and all that, but it's going. Well, no, I don't think it's older. It's older. Trust me. Nice save, Tim. But no, it's it's just we can't get parts, and that's the bottom line. We're one cracked piece away from this all going down. Plus, it'll be similar to the one we have at the police station. So we'll have a backup. Thermal imager, the ambulance. Oh, you can't see it because it's out back. Never ladder trucks. Been here. We've had that since 1988. It's kind of old. It's kind of old. Back in 1988, I had a lot more hair. But anyway, it's old. What we want to do is refurbish it. There's NFPA, the National Fire Protection Association, has standards for things like ladder trucks. We want to bring it back up to those standards. We'll get at least 10 to 15 more years of use out of it, and we're talking about getting new controls, putting in some new hydraulic lines, just really kind of bring it up to today's standards, meaning that will be more effective, and it saves safer for us too. Hey there. Okay.
A question back there? What was that, Ellie?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, yes.
The question is, does a fueling system have a buried gas tank? And the
Yes,
answer?
it has an underground storage tank. Yes, yes, it does.
The question is, will you do anything to the underground storage system to make sure it's safe?
Well, yes, we will. That's probably two years down the road. The tank is fine. The tank is safe. But the thing is, it's a single wall tank. It's fine. We tested once a year, I believe. But that does need to be changed out. Double wall tank is safer in terms of leakage. But that tank is in good shape.
And just to let you know, this pertains to Articles 11, 12, and 13, which relate to Joint Capital Planning Committee expenses. And number one is the aerial ladder refurbishment for $95,000. And we'll take a look at the aerial ladder as we turn around to leave going around the back. The second is the thermal imaging camera, which you had the fun opportunity of looking through. That's $15,000. The new ambulance would be $190,000, and that would come from ambulance receipts, not from the general operating budget. And then replacing the fueling system would be $14,000. So, any questions for the chief? I'm sorry we can't get out to meet all your colleagues out there.
My heart.
Oh, Cynthia's got a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So the only one of those four that would be paid for out of ambulance is the new ambulance?
Yes, ma'am.
The question is the only one that comes out of ambulance receipts is the actual ambulance, and the answer is yes. Any other questions for the chief? Okay.
Sure you can. Who, me?
You can. If you got any questions, you can give
And
the
that's the thing,
chief a call.
feel free to call me at any time. Well, not maybe any time. My wife might get a little.
No, I just wondered if you wanted to speak to Amherst.
Of course I would. That'd be fun. You gonna
Okay, and-
feed me or? Okay.
Yes, and feed you.
All right, well,
Perfect.
since all the crew came out, maybe we should give a hand to all the firefighters.
Other them, yeah.
And stop number 4 on your map, the North Amherst Library. And the library is recommended for $12,000 from the Community Preservation Act Committee. This is mainly for painting. As you can see from the outside of the building, it needs painting. And since it's a historic building, it has to be painted in a particular way. There's a quality of paints that's especially for historic buildings, it will have to help them last longer, so we're going to be using a better quality paint. Also, part of the money will go towards insulation. We tried to have an energy audit done of the building, but because it's on oil, we couldn't do an energy audit, but we had people come out to give estimates on insulation, and we learned that there's almost no insulation in the roof of this building or in the walls. So the insulation costs will cover the roof and the walls. There may be a follow-up project that would cover insulation in the basement. So that's what this project is. It's $12,000. And anything else that Pat Holland, Library Trustee, is here with us. Anything you'd like to add, Pat? Pat points out for ACTV people at home, the last time this was painted was, what was it again, Pat? 1997, so definitely in need of a paint job. Okay, thanks very much. We'll go on to the next stop. Okay, so now we're on part of stop number 5. This is going to be a 2-part stop. So the first part is to give you a look from this side of the parcel. This is the Patterson parcel on your left. It spans for quite a number of acres, so we're going to go over to Sunderland Road and show it to you from a different perspective. But I wanted you to see this perspective because this is probably, it looks from the maps like this is where the entrance to the development would be. The other side is wetter, has some lakes, so it's a better view, but it's probably not where the development is, most of it, going to be sited. So the question was, how many acres is this? And actually, why don't we talk a little bit more about the acreage when we're at the next stop, because we're a little bit tricky driving place here. So we'll hold your questions till part 2 of this stop. Okay, thanks. Okay, everyone, hello. Now we're at stop number 6. We're at stop number 6, and this is the Cherry Hill Golf Course. This is just a very quick stop to tell you that the Joint Capital Planning Committee recommends $15,000 for funding of a well for Cherry Hill. And the proposal from Cherry Hill describing why the well is needed says that Cherry Hill currently relies on a gravity-fed irrigation pond to meet its requirements for watering of the course. That system is extremely overburdened. Over the past 2 summers, we have had to reduce our water schedule to the bare minimum in order to conserve water in the pond. This has placed the greens and fairways at great risk. A well would provide for a much more dependable method to fill our irrigation pond. We do not want to risk destroying our valuable assets, greens and fairways. A well would allow us to preserve these assets. So that's information about the well. And by the way, when I was speaking with people from Cherry Hill, I learned that Cherry Hill has been operating in the black for the past 3 years, and it's a town investment, so we're very happy about that. And I went on their website and saw that they, just to give them a little promo to help our town's economy, they have a women's clinic, golf clinic, coming up Wednesday, April 28th through May 26th. It's 6 to 7 p.m., and the cost is just $35 for 5 lessons. And they also have a number of other activities that I'll pass around. There's a senior special, age 62 and over. 2 seniors, 9 holes in a cart for $30. Monday through Friday until 1 p.m., the twilight rate, just $12 after 5 p.m. So get your golf clubs out, support the town, and we'll go to the next stop. Thanks. All right, hello everybody. We are now at the stop that is about the Patterson property. This is stop number 5. You saw the other side of it when we were right before Cherry Hill Golf Course. So this property is proposed for funding by the Joint Capital Planning Committee. I'm actually on that committee. The vote was I believe 7-1. I'm actually the one. So you're going to get a minority report later on from me. But the majority, let me read from the town manager's summary of what this project would do. And if other people want to add to that, that would be fine. The goal of the Patterson project in implementation of the economic development goals and objectives of the master plan is to increase the total taxable assessed value of the town of Amherst by approximately 5% over $100 million. With a recent history of expanding the total taxable assessed value of approximately, $2 billion, the town presently expands its tax base from real growth by approximately 1 to 1.5% per year. That rate of expansion does not keep pace with the growth of the cost of providing public services per year of approximately 5.5%. Therefore, the difference needs to be either funded by the taxpayer or a reduction in the cost of services or type of services needs to occur, or additional alternative revenue needs to be found, and some combination thereof needs to be achieved. In terms of cost to the town, I'm reading again from the overview and goals for development of the Patterson property, North Amherst, by the town manager. In one section, it mentions infrastructure costs, and I quote, it says, at a minimum, the site would require millions in infrastructure investment to accommodate, provide the water, sewer, and road improvements needed to support a major development. The town of Amherst is in a unique position to bring resources to fund and provide the critical infrastructure needs of this project, and to facilitate the recruitment and location of a major private concern to the site. So basically, the proposal is that the town would purchase an option that would be $40,000 a year for a 3-year period. The proposal to the Joint Capital Planning Committee was to have the entire 3 years of the option paid for up front, $120,000. Then the idea would be that a company that the town would persuade to take this on would then sign a lease with the Pattersons themselves. So the town would not be renting the land to the company. It would be renting directly from the Pattersons for a cost of $415,000 a year. With the option, the initial lease, my recollection is that it goes for 25 years, and then it can be renewed in 10-year increments for, I think, another 7 years, seven times after that, with an option to purchase after the initial 25-year lease. So it's a complicated article. I don't know that I'm going to be able to answer a lot of questions about it, but if you want to ask, I'd be happy to try. Oh. So the question is, where would the infrastructure costs come from? In the overview that I'm reading, it's not clear where the infrastructure costs come from. I have heard the town manager say that they would hope to have the developer, whatever company comes in, be partially responsible, and that they would try to apply for grants. But one question that I asked of the town manager was, what would the infrastructure cost if the town were going to be providing infrastructure? And he said, could be 3 million, could be 5 million. He said it depends on what type of infrastructure is needed for whatever company comes. For example, if it's a type of company that would require a lot of water, it would be a higher amount that would be necessary for infrastructure. Let's see, other questions? Harry. Harry's pointing out that Nashua, New Hampshire has a development situated behind a couple of ponds. Okay. Okay, other questions? Gary.
Am I understanding correctly? If we go into lease with the lands, we still would be liable for the initial infrastructure cost down the line?
So who's going to pay for the infrastructure costs? I think is a very good question to ask at town meeting. The memo implies that the town at least is in some way responsible. However, I have heard from people who've drafting the lease say that we're not taking that on. So I think I'm probably not the best one to ask that question to, which is, let's take more questions. Yes, Jody? So the question is, what sort of tax revenue would this bring in annually? I think it depends a lot on what comes as the company. The overview that we were provided says that with a recent history of expanding the total taxable assessed value of approximately $2 billion, town needs to expand its tax base by 1 to 1.5%. And hold on one second. A 100 million total taxable assessed value is achievable by placing a 500,000 square foot taxable facility on the Patterson property with a cost to construct of $200 per foot. Such a building would accommodate a large regional professional office of architects, engineers, and other professional services. A taxable property assessed at 100 million would yield more than 1.6 million in property taxes per year. Yes, Nancy Gordon.
First of all, the differential between the tax rate in Hadley, which is right over there, is almost 50%. That is, the tax rate in Hadley is $8 and something.
So Nancy Gordon's pointing out that the tax rate in Hadley is 50% what it is here, and Hadley is directly across the road. As Nancy Gordon was just pointing out that the water table here is very close to the surface, and there would be significant engineering concerns resulting from that, combined with that Amherst has double the taxable tax rate as Hadley. Did you have a question that you wanted to follow up that with, Nancy?
Yes.
I don't want to start any polemics. I'd like to point out one thing. I think there's much to be debated and learned yet, but this entire...
Maybe stand up.
Yeah, the only thing I'd like to make note of, because there's much to be learned and debated yet in this very complex issue, as this entire stretch is all PRP, and there is an argument that says if we don't use incentives to bring in appropriate development, the incentives, including bringing in sewer and water and those structural elements, to at least be attractive to potential developers, commercial or otherwise. We're losing a very good opportunity, one of the very last opportunities here in Amherst that's not going to encroach upon residences.
Okay. Any other questions about this? Ellie, question.
Yeah, I'm wondering why they want a big corporate headquarters. That's what I've been reading.
The question is, why do they want a big corporate headquarters? And is there not a fear that someone could come and then leave quickly? I've heard that there was discussion about certain companies that they were trying to avoid, that the Patterson didn't want a Walmart or some big company like that to come in. I've heard that they're trying to gear it towards like clean energy research kind of facilities, but I don't have a more complete answer for that. Mary, question.
I just wanted to remind you to point out about the land for Article 15, the Zoller land.
Thank you. Right. Mary, do you know, Mary's pointing out that the land on the other side of the bus is also land that would be acquired, the Zala property. Do you want to come on up and speak? While Mary's coming up, any other questions about the Patterson property? Yes, Janet.
Do we know why, with 31 acres of already developed flat serviced with infrastructure land in Hadley, where the, as has been pointed out, the tax rate is significantly lower, has not attracted this kind of development. That property is also closer to Route 9 and therefore a little bit closer to Route 91. Why it would be that someone would choose this place that needs all water, sewer, roads, has a 5-way intersection that would need significant improvements, I assume, if it's going to have a lot more traffic. Just trying, again, as is pointed out, there are a lot of things to be learned and known and understood before you can make a decision as to whether or not this is a good investment for us. Does anyone know?
Okay. I don't know an answer. I did, in my role as on the Joint Capital Planning Committee, I did ask more questions about, are there any developers who are interested? Is there anyone behind the scenes who these contracts might be geared towards? And I was told, no, there is nobody in mind. I asked if there was a marketing study that had been done to determine whether there is a need for this type of development and whether there are similar developments like this in other towns that have not yet been used. And there isn't a marketing study. I think part of the rationale is that marketing studies cost money, and so to avoid the cost of having a marketing study, they could go directly towards the option. But there's going to be a lot of questions that are going to need to be fleshed out at town meeting, and I'm probably not the best one to answer them. But Gary, what else did you? So the question is, has there been an interest expressed to the town by potential suitors of the land? I asked a similar question, and the answer I got was that there was no company that was in mind that currently. I've heard that in the past couple of decades there were a couple of companies that had expressed an interest, and for whatever reason it did not progress. Other questions or comments? You can learn more about this in the Joint Capital Planning Committee report that will be coming out in the second packet. I also will be giving a minority report that you can also read in the second packet. And if you want to see the leases, I have the copy of the ground lease and the option, and I'd be happy to pass them back to you. Okay, thank you.
Okay, for Article 15, it's not for acquisition of property. It is there's apparently a state law, and I don't have it in front of me to quote it exactly, but it is to designate that land along with the Patterson land as priority site development. And so I think you could probably look it up on the state of Massachusetts website. I'm going to try to put a link into what this actually means, and I hope we get something in our second mailing packet about it so that we can understand exactly what else is involved with that. But I wanted to point out this is land owned by the Zala family of Hadley, and it's more than just a little triangular strip. I have outlined the properties on the map that you all received. I've highlighted it in yellow, and I'll pass this around as long as you promise to give it back to me, so that you can see all of the properties that would be designated as priority site development.
Okay.
So.
And we're going to have to move on, so if you have questions, maybe come up afterwards, but I want Okay, hello everyone. We are now at stop number 7. This is relating to Article 17D, Community Preservation Act recommendation, and I'm going to turn the mic over to Mary Streeter, who's on the Community Preservation Act committee.
Okay, this is another CPA purchase recommended. This is the Schwaz property. It's $18,000. It has already been purchased by the Kestrel Land Trust for the town of Amherst, and the town of Amherst wants to pay Kestrel back for doing this. This will have a conservation restriction. It's surrounded by a lot of land that has APR restrictions, and it is the Mill River runs right through it, and there has been an effort all along to try to conserve the land on either side of the Mill River for a lot of different reasons. So this would be $18,000 to repay Kestrel Trust. That's it.
Okay. Now we are at the stop dealing with the big Y, which is, excuse me, stop number 8. This deals with Article 31. And I'm going to hand the mic over to Rob Crowner, who is on the Public Works Committee, who can tell you more about it.
Okay, so this is about authorizing Select Board to acquire the right-of-way right from about here up close to Route 9. It's to facilitate the long-awaited complete reworking of this intersection, which is a disaster. But what's going to happen is there's going to be it's going to be blocked off. The road that comes all the way through is going to be blocked off down to about here, so that you're going to have to go up the corridor to get to the driveway. And then there will be 2 lanes coming south on University Drive, one of which is a turn into the parking lot, and then 2 lanes going out, which is why we need to acquire the right of way. 2 lanes going out, one to go all the way through and one to go west on Route 9. So there'll be a traffic light out here, and then also a traffic light at the other driveway where the hospital building is and the Center for Extended Care. So two traffic lights, which will be keyed off of the traffic light that is up at Route 9. So in other words, when that light turns green, you'll be able to go all the way through. You won't have to keep stopping. And I think the one down, the second one down here, the one farther north, is going to be a minor one that will only actually turn green coming out when there's someone waiting there. It won't always be turning. And there will also be, I believe there will be signalized pedestrian crossings at both lights, where right now it's like, take your chances. So.
Okay. Question from Bob Winnie. What's the question, Bob?
It's very hard to understand what you're saying here. All of us.
Okay. So wanting a little more clarification.
Is there a map or something?
So we don't have a map from the planning department, but basically it's to put street lights right out here by the entrance to Big Y. And when I was listening to the warrant review, it said that 6,400 square feet of land is required from Big Y in order to do this. So Big Y is going to donate the land, and we're going to put up the light for them. So it's a mutually beneficial project. And I think we're going to move on to the next stop because we're running low on time. Oh, quick question. Question, will you be able to make a left turn coming out of the Big Y parking lot? The answer is yes. Okay, that's it. We'll go on to the next stop. Okay, hello. Now we are at stop number 9. This is relating to Article 25, and I'll turn the mic over to Rob Crowner, who's not only on Public Works, but also the Planning Board. Here's Rob.
Okay, so this is a simple rezoning of this parcel right here, which is about 5 acres. It's basically square, maybe a little bit oblong towards the back. It's rezoned right now. It's zoned office park, which is the zone that exists from right here all the way down to Route 9. It will be rezoned to limited business, which is the zone that exists over here on this side, and all the way on the other side of University Drive. The whole strip is limited business. So it's just a rezoning, just changing the map from OP to BL. That's all. The reason for this is that this has been Office Park for 20 years or 30 years or something. Nothing has ever happened on here, and so the hope is that if it's BL, then maybe something could happen. I guess it was prompted by a proposal that was made by Fair Housing or something, and the town manager to CPA to do a project that would combine affordable housing and a mixed-use thing here. But I'm not sure that's really happening. But that's what prompted it, and that's what made the planning board look at it, and so that's what the proposal is.
That's not happening for this year. The rezoning was sort of a precursor, but the idea was to put the elder housing in the back and retail space in the front after the infrastructure was brought into the elder housing with CPA funding.
The question is, there's the discussion that there might be elder housing in the rear and retail spaces in the front of the property. That wouldn't be happening this year. That would be for another year if it happens. But first, the rezoning would have to happen. Rob, I noticed that the planning board vote was 5-3. Is there going to be a minority report coming out?
Yeah, there is a minority report. It's already out. There were several of us who voted against recommending this to the town meeting because the land is wet. I mean, there are actually only two dry parts here. You can see the dry part right here, and then back over there. But right down through the middle is wet, and it's also wet in front of the property just to the south of this. And so there's concern about whether development is appropriate on this lot at all. Kevin.
My concern about whether or not development is appropriate on the property relates more to the fact that it's active farmland, obviously. Is there concern about the town becoming involved in determining land that is actively being used for farmland, rezoning to encourage development?
Okay, so the question was the concern about this being active farmland, and is the town trying to protect this as farmland, basically. The zoning subcommittee didn't actually take up that question in particular, but it looked at whether changing the zoning from what it is now, Office Park, to limited business was appropriate, and it was thought that it does fit into the surrounding areas. I mean, this is already limited business. That's already limited business. So it's not trying to take away that farmland.
For time's sake, we're going to let you go visit some of the sites at the end on your own, or if you want to watch it on the bus tour, I'm going to go take pictures of those sites so that while you hear the commentary, you can look at a picture. So watch the bus tour online. So the next and last stop will be the Amherst History Museum. But let me tell you a little bit about the stops that we're going to skip. One is the Jones Library. You know it. You've been there. You've seen it. And there are several things planned for Jones Library. One is Community Preservation Act proposals for $40,000 for restoration of the slate roof. There had already been a study conducted to determine where the main pitfalls are on the roof, so this is completion of that project. $75,000 is recommended for updating the climate control system for the heating and cooling and ventilation system, the HVAC system of special collections. It's critical to have the humidity and the temperature be controlled in special collections, because if it ranges dramatically by temperature, it literally cuts the lifespan of the materials in archives in half even. So it's critical that that be maintained. And the controls that are in there now, I'll get a picture that can go on for the TV version of the bus tour, are ancient. They're so old that there's only one person we know of who can still fix them. And once he's no longer working, we don't have anyone to fix them. So this would be updating to updating from these old controls, which are called pneumatic controls, to modern digital controls that will better control the temperature and humidity. And there's also $20,000 recommended for preservation of the town's tax records, which are historic documents. There's a cooling tower in the back of the Jones Library, which is recommended for replacement. When we went to look at the cooling tower with an engineer, she said that it's definitely at the end of its life. It could go at any time, and if this cooling unit goes, it would shut down all the heating and cooling in the library. So it's critical that that be funded. There's also $50,000 set aside for elevator repairs. The elevator has been trapping people periodically, so it's a safety issue. And there's also $15,000 recommended for insulation. There was an energy audit done recently that assessed where there was more insulation needed. So that's stop number 11 that you can go and learn more about on your own. Stop number 12 would be the Plum Brook Recreation Area, and this is year 6 of 10 of CPA funding for the Plum Brook Recreation Area soccer fields. $36,643 is recommended for this fiscal year. It's part of our continuing debt obligation. And I'll take a picture of the soccer fields. They're all completed. They at least they look like they're completed. I don't know if they're actually being used yet. Oh, I'm sorry. I see conflicting reports. There's a nod that yes, they're usable now. They've been used for a year. There are games. There was one scheduled yesterday, so they are in operation. Stop 13 would be the South Amherst School Building. This is a project recommended by the Joint Capital Planning Committee for $80,000 of roof repairs and $100,000 for partitioning of the building to allow consolidation of the East Street School and the South Amherst School. So it will be a money saver to the town down the road to consolidate these two schools. We're here at the Amherst History Museum, and before we go in and hear that part of our tour, I wanted to tell you about another stop that we are not going to be going to, but you can go visit on your own, and that is stop number 15, the Kimball House, and that is located at 575 Northeast Street. And this is the large, the brick building on Northeast Street. Actually, it has in the rear of it a very large building. It's a historic building, and it was purchased 4 years ago as part of a 5-year project sponsored by the Community Preservation Act Committee, and the CPAC recommends $25,600 in compensation payments to the state. The reason that we need to pay the state these compensation payments is because in order to arrange for the purchase of the Kimball House, we had to take land out of APR, which is Agricultural Preservation Restriction land. So when we took land out of APR, we had to negotiate with the state to do so, and so we have to pay the state $25,600 this year, and we will also be trying to acquire land to make up for the land we took out of APR. So we're going to now go to the Amherst History Museum, and we'll see you inside. We're here at the Amherst History Museum, and we're delighted to have Pat Lutz, who is the director of the History Museum, speak to the bus tour. Pat has been working at the History Museum since 2006, and before that she worked with the Emily Dickinson Museum, the Wadsworth Atheneum Museum of Art in Hartford, the Arlington Historical Society, Smith College Museum of Art, Old Historic Deerfield. Her education is she has a master's at Tufts University, and at Smith College she had her bachelor's and master's, and we're very happy to have Pat speak to us today. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Hi, and welcome. One of the things that we're going to be talking about today is the changes that we've been trying to do here at the Strong House. We had a landscape report done in 2002, and this report talked about some of the structural problems of the building. And those are some of the things that we're going to be looking at, as well as some of the highlights of this house and the reasons why this house is so valuable to the town of Amherst, and why we need to sustain it and keep it going structurally. We right now are in this room here. This is one of the oldest parts of the house. This was the original we believe may have been the original structure on the property when Nehemiah Strong moved here. The earliest time that we can find that the house was here was in the 1750s. So that's pre-Revolutionary War, before we were the United States of America. In this room here, Simeon Strong had his office. He was the son of Nehemiah Strong, and he was also a judge and a lawyer. And he was also a Tory, so that meant he was on the side of the British. And in this room, he would have some of his meetings with his fellow partners with the Tories, and they would probably talk about a lot of politics in this room and what was going on. Another thing in this room that happened, this was the room that the DAR, the Daughters of the American Revolution, they met in this room, and out of that group came the idea that there needed to be a historical society and a place to keep the story and the history of the town and all their objects. Mrs. Emerson lived in the house then, and she was a part of this group. And in this room, they came up with the idea for Mrs. Emerson to donate the house to the Historical Society, to create a historical society, and that this house would be the center of the history of the town. Mrs. Emerson was meeting that day, and also Julia Ward Howe, who wrote the Battle Hymn of the Republic. She also came here and came in on these discussions of how to save the town's history. In this room, also though above us is another unit, and it is the roof of this part of the house that needs to be redone. From what I can see from some reports, it looks like the roof probably was done with shingles at some point after World War II, and we would like to restore it back to cedar. It was done with asphalt, and we'd like to restore it back to the cedar shingles. Outside, you can see there's pieces of it falling onto the ground, so it is starting to just fall apart and come off. So that's one of the places we want to, one of the things that we need.
Okay, and also just to let you know, the Historic Museum Amherst History Museum is proposed for, let's see, $45,000
Yes.
in funding from the Community Preservation Act Committee, and that would cover the roof, electrical systems, and windows, and we'll see different parts of where the repairs are needed as we tour the house, and we'll see you at the next stop.
Well, I'd like to just let you know, though, not all the rooms are set up. We're not really open yet for tours. We'll be open in May 15th, so some of the rooms are in transition. This room we call the children's room, and it's a great fun collection, especially for the kids in the area. It is toys that are mostly from about the 19th century. And so we have an excellent toy collection. Then in here, in this room, we have, here we have a lot of our sewing, the looms, and that. So this kind of we demonstrate in this room for people what were some of the ways that women would have to sew and use their make their cloth and their material, and the amount of work that went into it. A lot of work went into this just to make one single piece of cloth. Now through that window there, if you look through there, you can see that roof that I was talking about, and you can go right up there and look through the window. You can see that there's a lot of moss built up on the roof, and then there's some branches in that get caught in the flashing of the chimney there. So that's one of the things that we really need to have repaired before. That's one of the funnest parts about taking a tour in the house. You really learn to appreciate your life nowadays. And this here was this tub. You would have stooped in it, or maybe, you know, stood in it, depending on your size, and someone would come along with a pitcher of hot water. You'd soap up and they'd pour it over you and rinse you. Now, in those days, father came first, then maybe the oldest son, if he was old enough to do a lot of work, or then the mother, and it would go all the way down to the youngest child. And after each time somebody had been rinsed off, there's a spout here, and they would pour the water back into the pitcher and reuse it, especially if it was winter and it would take a long time to heat up water and get water. And the whole old saying, if you've ever heard, don't throw the baby out with the bath water. Well, what it's kind of a slang for is that at the end, the water would be so dirty and the baby would be in the tub that you may not be able to see the baby. And when you threw out the tub, all the water for the final time, the baby might be in there. And that's where that saying is supposed to come from. So we're going to go into our industry room next. In industry, we call this the industry room. There was a point in history that Amherst was actually a town of industry. It was around the before around the 1860s, 1840s, and it looked like that could have been our future as a town of industry. We would make the hats. We had the hat making business. It was extremely successful. We were the largest exporter of straw hats to Italy than anyone else in the whole world. We had our brick making, and of course these woodworking planes were made here, and then they distributed to other people. We also had carriage making. Here is the baby size of the carriage, but they would make large carriages, and actually we made the carriage for President Andrew Jackson also. So it would be not until later that when the steam engine came along that we did not have enough water power here in Amherst to run the mills. So eventually, just due to economics, fires, floods, and other disasters that all seemed to fall upon the industry during that late 1800s period, eventually it seemed that the industry went away. But luckily, we still had our farming industry, and we had already put our foot into the academic world. So that ends up being really now the biggest industry here in town. Mrs. Emerson was the woman, as I said before, that donated the house to the Historical Society. She had one request that her bedroom remain the same, that we didn't change her bedroom. And so we really haven't. Mrs. Emerson lived to almost 99 years old, or almost 100, I should say. I think she ended up being 99 in 3 months. So she had a good, long life. Her daughters ran a girls' school. She had 3 daughters. They ran a young girl school here. They would teach embroidery, singing, piano playing. And her son, John, would go to Amherst College. He was valedictorian. He was friends with Emily Dickinson and Austin Dickinson, and he would himself become a pretty prominent lawyer and end up practicing law in New York. And Mrs. Emerson had never really updated this house very much. I think she always knew that she wanted to save it for the town. And so there was never any plumbing put in. There wasn't any gas lighting put in. So this part of the house is pretty much how it looked when Mrs. Emerson was here. There's probably, when the Historical Society took over, they made a few changes and added some paint, but it was Mrs. Emerson who changed over to the Franklin stoves. She did add the wood-burning stoves instead of the chimneys. And she also had a very fancy little chamber pot because she didn't have her bathroom. And we have her lovely, though it's a very personal item here of Mrs. Emerson's.
Do you have a picture of her?
Yes, I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but here she is, and she's sitting in the house, in her room. You can see the 4-poster bed and her rocking chair right there. And she always was known for wearing a white cap. Everyone talked about how she'd wear a white cap. Okay, there she goes. Now, yes, that's the problem that we're having mostly here on the second floor, is the window sashes. We also don't have any UV protection on our windows. We do have these very light curtains that we pull over to kind of protect a little bit from the UV rays. But one of the things we would like to do is add some protection to these windows. And you can see these side panels are coming out, and they're just blowing out, and things have actually gotten worse over this winter. And when I first applied in December, the windows weren't even this bad. We had a rough wind this winter, and my worst fear happened. And these windows here, you can see that we've even had to put this towel in here just to keep the window from flying right out, and that's where we're at right now. And we're going to need to secure it, at least temporarily. We're meeting this Saturday to do that, to talk about that. But you can see how old these windows are being hand blown. This here room is got pretty much the oldest items in our collection. Many of these belong to the Strong family. So these items are from the 1700s, and we have the rope bed and some of the furnishings in that from this time period. This room also, and this is one of the problems, we had this upstairs too with the windows, is just, if it's not coming out that way, it's just a rot that's happening down here, and that lets in bugs and a lot more humidity into the house. So these are the things that we need to have prepared. So Mabel Loomis Todd, who was the woman who first edited Emily Dickinson's poems, she also started the Women's Club, the Historic Society here, the DAR. She was a very active woman. And this here room has a lot of her objects in it, this parlor. She traveled a lot with her husband. He was an astronomy professor at Amherst College, David Todd. He had a lot of his own interesting theories about taking a balloon 1,000 feet up in the air and talking to Mars, being able to communicate with Mars. And one time he was actually shot down or shot at by a local farmer. He never had seen a hot air balloon before. And poor David ended up in Canada. So there's a lot of objects in this room that are from other countries, from South America, Asia. So we have a lot of interesting objects. This here is supposedly a branch that came from the grave of Napoleon. So we have some things in here that people pick up on their trips. So some of it is very foreign looking in this room, but it's quite a lot of fun. And this room is in preparation. We're going to do a little exhibition in the parlor space. Some of our plans are to start changing around. Some of these period rooms have been here since the museum opened. So we're going to open up an exhibition in here. And it's going to be about the changes that have happened through the years of the Strong house, what was the Drake, the Perry next door to us, and the house after that, the Pitkin house. So that'll be opening at the end of May. This is a working museum. We've always got interns here we're on a big collection project. We're inventorying the thousands of objects that we have in this house. And so it's a good opportunity for anybody to come by. We're free to Amherst residents on Thursdays and Saturdays. You can stop by and get a regular tour of the house and come and see the exhibition, and maybe you can learn what that object is there. It's sort of our mystery object. We know, but most people don't, so maybe you can put in your guess.
All right, Pat, well, thanks an awful lot.
Thank you.
And, it's been great having a tour.
Yeah.
And thank you to ACTV for filming the tour. As people watching at home may wonder, where are the rest of the people on the tour? Well,
yes.
we're doing the tour in 2 parts, and it's actually been helpful because when we brought the tour in here, there were 30 people in all these small rooms.
They kind of went out
so it works out
them.
a little bit easier to do it in 2 parts. So thanks so
Carol.
much, and good luck with your museum.
Oh, thanks.